ለመማር ወደ ትምህርት ተቋም መሄድ ግድ አይደለም። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
ራሳችሁን ከኮሮና ቫይረስ ወረርሽኝ እየጠበቃችሁ በቤታችሁ ወይም በተመቻችሁ ቦታ በኢንተርኔት አማካኝነት በኦንላይን ትምህርታችሁን መከታተል ትችላላችሁ።
ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ኢንስቲትዩት ኦፍ ኮመርሻል ማኔጅመንት ICM ጋር በመተባበር የሚሰጡ ትምህርቶችን ተከታትላችሁ በ6 ወር ጊዜ በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ ተቀባይነት ያለውን የስልጠና ማስረጃ ባለቤት መሆን ይቻላል።
ልምድ ባላቸው መምህራን እየተማራችሁ ጥያቄና መልስ የክፍል ስራዎች ፈተና መፈተን ክፍል ውስጥ እንዳላችሁት አይነት በኦንላይን ባላችሁበት ቦታ ከናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ
Hello students, this is the course Anthropology. So just I want to remind you some points from the previous time. Human culture ties that connect. So what do you mean by culture? Culture can be defined as all cumulative creation of man, which is given by Malinowski. It includes all things beyond nature and biology. This is culture. So culture, all things created by man, we call it culture given by Malinowski. And the next point is characters of culture. What are the characteristic features of culture? Can you list some points? What are the characteristic features? The main features of culture. Culture is learned. Yes. Culture is shared. Culture is symbolic. And culture is all-encompassing. Culture is integrated. Culture is adaptive and maladaptive. And culture is dynamic. We have discussed so many times. The next point, aspects or elements of culture. Just, I want to remind you what we discussed so far. Okay? There are two basic aspects of culture. These are material and non-material culture. And the next point, folkways and mores, we have discussed in detail. Cultural unity and variation, universality and generality, particularity. What about universality? Universality, culture, which happen all over the world, which is called universality, cultural universality. Generality, which is common in different parts of the world, not all. Mind you, universal and general. Universal is all common all over the globe. We call it universal. But in the case of generality, which is common in some aspects of the world. Particularity, which is common in some aspects of the group. Children playing on mud, as I told you. What's the characters of babies? Babies use diaper, for example. Using diaper is common for only babies. This is called particularity, as I told you last time. Then the next point is acculturation. Then acculturation is a process by which babies learn, yes, social values, norms, and the like. This is the point. The next point is marriage. Marriage is permanent legal union between a man and a woman. We call it marriage. We have this about exogamy, endogamy, the levirate, and the like. Then we stop exactly post-marital residence. ጥንዶች ከተጋቡ በኋላ የት ነው የሚኖሩት? The new couples, where the newly married couples live after marriage rituals is post-marriage. Post means after, by the way, after marriage. So there are patrilocal residence, for example. Patrilocal residence. This patrilocal residence, the marriage rituals, meaning the couples live with or near the relatives of the husband's father, we call it patrilocal. ከሴትየዋ ከባሏ ቤተሰብ የሚኖሩበት ሁኔታ ሙሽሮች አዲስ ሙሽሮች yes the couple lives with or near the relatives of the husband's father, we call it patrilocal residence. Matrilocal residence, patri የወንድ ማለት ነው፣ ማትሪ mother side ማለት ነው። Matrilocal, the couple lives with or near the relatives of the wife, we call it matrilocal residence. Then uncle local residence, the couple live with or near the husband's brother, we call it ambilocal or bilocal residence. The couple has a choice of living with the relatives of the wife or the relatives of the husband. We call it ambilocal, or you can say bilocal. The last one is neolocal residence. ይሄ ምርጫ አዲስ የተጋቢዎች ሙሽሮች የሚኖሩበት ምርጫ ይወስናል። በቤተሰብ ከሚስት አባት ወይስ ከባል አባት ከየትኛው ቤተሰብ መኖር የሚመርጡበትን neolocal, the couple forms an independent place of residence away from the relatives of either spouse. Then family. What do you mean family now? Family is the basic unit. Family is the base for human society. Okay? Family is a basic unit. It is the most important primary group, and it is an institution. Family is universal institution, by the way. One of the following is a basic unit. A, family. B, religion. C, economy. D, government. The basic unit is family. The smallest unit is family. The smallest institution, yes, the basic institution, yeah. So it's an institution. Family is a universal all over the world. Family institution. As you might recall last time, there are 5 institutions. Family is one, religion, education, government, economy. From these 5 institutions, family is the basic unit. It is the smallest unit, okay? Then it is universal unit. Now, cultural anthropologists identified 2 fundamentally different types of family structure. There are 2 family structures, by the way. What are these family structures? Anthropologists በሁለት ይከፍላቸዋል: nuclear family and extended family. Can you give me an example? Nuclear family, extended family. አሁን nuclear family የምንለው አብዛኛው በከተማ አካባቢ የሚኖሩ ናቸው። extended family አብዛኛው ጊዜ rural community ተሰባስበው የሚኖሩበት ማለት ነው። 2 generation families. What are these 2 generations, by the way? Husband and wife and children. 2 generation. አንድ generation 25 ዓመት 30 የ25 ዓመት ዕድሜ ያለው አንድ generation ህፃናቶች። ስለዚህ 2 generation living in one umbrella. 2 generation living at home, we call it nuclear family. Extended family. This extended family, we call it blood ties are important than ties of marriage. In the case of nuclear family, yes, marriage instead of blood ties, marriage is common because husband and wife come under one umbrella at home. But in the case of extended family, a monthly old babies together with great grandmother, a toothless grandmother living or packed together at one home. አሁን 15 20 ሰዎች ሊኖሩ ይችላሉ በአንድ ቤተሰብ ውስጥ። አያት፣ ቅድመ አያት፣ ልጅ፣ የልጅ ልጅ፣ እነዚህ በሙሉ extended family እንላቸዋለን። But nuclear family, only 2 generation, husband and wife and children. Now, function of marriage and family. What's the function of marriage now? What's the function? The first one is biological function. አሁን የፋሚሊ ወይንም የሜሬጅ ጥቅም ምንድን ነው ብላችሁ ምንድን ነው የምትሉት? ሳምራዊት I saw it from the screen. የፋሚሊ ጥቅም. Family performs certain specific function, by the way. The first function is biological function. Biological function. It perpetuates the continuity of population in the given society, by the way. Family. One function is biological function, meaning it serves sexual or reproductive function. The task of perpetuating the population of a society is important function of family, by the way. Society reproduces itself through what? Family. Without family or without marriage, it's very difficult to continue. ማስቀጠል ምንለው ማለት ነው። ህዝብ እንደ ህዝብ እንዲቀጥል፣ ማህበረሰብ እንደ ማህበረሰብ እንዲቀጥል የግድ ሜሬጅ ያስፈልጋል። የግድ ፋሚሊ መገንባት መቻል አለበት ማለት ነው። ሜሬጅ is very important function. ቢኒያም do you have something to say? So the main function, one is biological function, the second one is economic function, yes, family, yes, offsprings, or members of the family coming together and they cooperate at time of difficulties. They cooperate, work, okay, at the family level. The third one is social function. So biological function is there, social function, these are very important points. The last one is the educational and socializational function. Education. The major task of family is educating their children. Educating, inculturation, socialization. What do you mean by socialization? You did? What is socialization? Socialization is a process by which, yes, a family learn their children about social norms and values. This is called socialization. So socialization, it is a process by which, okay, children learn from their parents about what? About social norms and social values. This is socialization. So the task of family is educating children, teaching children, socialization function. This is the previous discussion. So today we'll continue about chapter 3. This chapter 3, human diversity, culture and culture areas, contact, we call it. Next point is this one. Upon successful completion of this unit, you'll be able to understand the concept of culture and the concept of diversity, variation, and race. And the next, human beings, being human, what is to be human? Reflect your views on the following questions. What do you understand by the term humanity, diversity, and human diversity variation? What makes human beings different from other animals? As you might recall last time, human beings differ from other animals because of three very important points. በሶስት ነገሮች ሰው ወይንም human being different from other being ብያችሁ ነበር። ታስታውሱ ከሆነ man is lingual, speaking ability. Man is cultural, culture making. Man is rational, thinking ability. The higher forms of thinking go to abstract, ወደ ጥልቁ የማሰብ ችሎታ. Using what? Symbolic interaction. This would what man different from other animal. This is the idea. The next point, anthropology is a broader discipline covering a vast spatio-temporal dimension in the study of humanity. Okay, sorry. Anthropology is a broad discipline covering a vast spatio-temporal dimension. What do you mean by spatio-temporal? Spatio means space, by the way. Temporal means time. So anthropology is a broad discipline covering a vast spatio, space-wise, everywhere in the world. Temporal, from the first appearance of man up to now, time dimension, space dimension. Because there is no time left for anthropologists. There is no space left for anthropologists. That's why it's covering vast spatio-temporal dimension. Since anthropology studies humanity, it is called a mirror of humanity. Why anthropology is called a mirror of humanity? Anthropology is termed as what? A mirror of humanity. What's the advantage of mirror? To observe you, to evaluate who you are. Yasayyana, mirror. That's why anthropology is often called a mirror of humanity because it studies humanity in its entirety. As Kulholm correctly pointed out, anthropology holds up a great mirror to man. Man, anthropology. Because from this point of view, we can evaluate, we can check, okay, who you are by comparing from other person, from other culture. What kind of cultures they practice in different parts of the world. Observing the kind of culture, observing the kind of practices they perform. Then we can compare what we are doing from the rest of the world. We call it anthropology, a mirror for humanity. Some of the questions central to humanity and anthropology are, what are the commonalities among humans worldwide? What are those practices or experiences that share in common all over the world? And what you are? የሰው ዘር በሙሉ ሼር የሚያደርጋቸው ምንድን ናቸው? commonality. What are those common things share in common? What are the variation among humans worldwide? Why do these commonalities and variation exist in the first place? Based on culture. This is the point. So anthropology, this is simply what? A mirror for humanity. Mirror, the advantage of mirror to observe you, to check you, yes, who you are. Just like anthropology is just, you can compare what the world is doing now. In order to address this question, we should rely on key anthropological concepts. What are these concepts? The first one is comparative approach, and second one is evolution. Comparative approach. Comparative, in a sense, cultural relativism, which is also known as cultural relativism. What do you mean cultural relativism or comparative approach? This entails that culture should not be compared one another for the sake of saying one culture is better than the other. Do you compare this? What's the advantage of comparing culture? Do you want to compare culture for the sake of saying my culture is better than the other? No. Simply, the advantage of comparing culture is simply what? To identify the differences and the commonalities of every culture. This is called cultural relativism, not cultural ethnocentrism. This is the point. So comparative approach ካልኳችሁ ሁሌም cultural relativism ጤናማ የሆነ አስተያየት ማለት ነው። የሁለት ሀገሮች ካልቸር፣ የሁለት ሶሳይቲዎች ካልቸር ምን ይመስላል? እስኪ እናነጻጽር፣ እስኪ እናወዳደር። የምናነጻጽረው የምናወዳደረው ምን መሰረት በማድረግ ነው? የኔ ካልቸር ከነሱ ይበልጣል ለማለት አይደለም። My culture is better than the other. My language is better than the other. Yeah, my style is better than the other. This is not good because it develops what? It develops this hostility, disagreement. That's why comparative approach or cultural relativism is simply entails that culture should not be compared, yes, one another for the sake of saying one is better than the other. Instead, culture should be compared in order to understand, yes, how and why they differ and share their commonalities in each other. We call it cultural relativism. The second concept is evolution. ዝግመተ ለውጥ እንደሆነ ዝግመተ ለውጥ, another key concept in anthropology, and allows us to address fundamental question regarding our distant origin. ዝርያዎቻችን distant origin, our ancestors ማለት ከየት ነው የመጣነው? current stage of growth, forms of adaptation, and predict future direction of development. Yes, man, አሁን የሰው ባህሪ ከሌላ ሰዎች ከሌላ አኒማልስ የሚለየው ምንድነው? Man remember in the past, arrange in the present, and he will plan in the future. He will plan in the future. This is the main peculiar characteristics of man, which is different from other beings. So by studying evolution, the change of a species through time, anthropologists tend to treat humanity as one of the biological species in the animal kingdom. In this respect, human biology and culture have evolved over millions of years, of course. There are two grand theories. ሁለት ግራንድ ቲዮሪዎች አሉ። ሁለቱ ግራንድ ቲዮሪ እነማን ናቸው ተብላችሁ ብትጠየቁ ምንድን ነው የምትሉት? The first one is creationist theory and second one is evolutionist theory, what we are talking about now. Creationist theory related to what? God created all things within 6 days. በስድስት ቀን what Genesis or Bible says. ዓለም በስድስት ቀን ፈጠረ፣ በሰባተኛው ቀን አረፈ. This is what the grand theory, we call it creationist view. የፈጣሪ ማለት ነው። Second one is evolutionist theory. አሁን creationist view ያልኳት በ6 ቀን ያለቀ we are talking million evolution ነው ግን in million years still we are evolving by studying evolution the change of species through time. Anthropologists tend to treat humanity as one of the biological species in the animal kingdom. In this respect, human biology and culture have evolved over millions of years and they will continue to evolve together. Human biology affects human culture and similarly human culture affects human biology. True. ሁለቱ አብሮ ይመጣሉ። Human biology and human culture. You see how human biology affects human culture and how human culture affects human biology, vice versa. The change in human brain is human biology. The first one is, we call it brain. This brain, a change of brain, development of brain brings agricultural revolution. And then it brings what? Scientific revolution. You see? Brain line. የብሬን መለወጥ በጥንት ዘመን አግሪካልቸር እና አርቱን ካልቸሩን ቀየረ። ካልቸር ሲቀየር ደግሞ ትምህርትን አመጣ። ዘን ሳይንቲፊክ ሪቮሉሽን መጣ። ዳይናሚክ ሪቮሉሽን የምንላቸው እነዚህ ሶስቱ ናቸው። የጭንቅላት መለወጥ፣ ጭንቅላቱ ሲቀየር ሰው ከሁ ካልቸር ከመቆፈር ወደ አግሪካልቸር መጣ፣ እርሻ፣ ከዛ አግሪካልቸር ሪቮሉሽን ዛን we call it scientific revolution. With the master of science and technology, yes, man rules the world today. ዓለምን እየመራ ነው ማለት ነው። ዓለምን እየገዛ ነው ማለት ነው because of his master of science and technology. So the change in human brain has brought cultural change. You see? የአእምሮ መቀየር ካልቸሩን ይቀይረዋል። አስተሳሰብ ጋር ነው። Increase intelligence. Yes. ብቃት የማሰብ አቅም language even the emergence of writing የጽሁፍ ስራ ይህ ሁሉ የሚመጣው step by step ነው። So one biology, human biology and culture just they are coming together. Human biology ሲቀየር culture ማብሮ ይቀየራል። This is why anthropologists use the term biocultural, yes, described as biocultural or dual nature of human evolution. Both biological and cultural dimension, dual nature. Dual means two. ሁለቱ ኔቸር የሰው ኔቸሮች አንደኛው ባዮሎጂ ነው፣ ሁለተኛው ደግሞ ካልቸር ነው። እነዚህ ሁለቱ አብረው መምጣት አለባቸው። አይምሮ ሲያድግ የስራ እንቅስቃሴው ያድጋል። ባዮሎጂ፣ culture. So the change in human brains has brought cultural changes in terms of this pointers. So it's dual nature of human culture, we call it. The biocultural animal. Humanity evolves both as a result of biological factors and cultural factors. For this reason, anthropologists call it biocultural evolution. What do I mean by biocultural evolution? Biocultural evolution. Biocultural animal. All animals, they are biological, by the way. There is only instinct, ስሜት ምንድን ነው የሚባለው? ደመ ነፍስ እንላቸው። እንስሶች በደመ ነፍስ ነው። ሰዎች ግን እንደዚህ አይደለም። ባዮሎጂ አለ፣ ካልቸር አለ። You see? That's why humanity evolves both as a result of biological factors and cultural factors. For this reason, anthropologists call it biocultural evolution. Humans survive by using both their biology and cultural information. What kind of response manifested all over the world today in the case of coronavirus, or what you call COVID-19 in scientific terms? Because we are human beings, we use cultural information. So what are those strategies to escape from this disease or virus, endemic or pandemic disease, which can be transmitted from one infected individual to the normal individual? So we use what? Cultural information. Only man use cultural information, by the way. The kind of, or the activity, or the practices that man use to escape from this pandemic disease, coronavirus or COVID-19, by its scientific term. So humans survive by using both their biology and cultural information. Culture is only given for human being. Humans, yes, for example, consider the following cultural behaviors and their possible involvement with biological evolution of our species. The earliest use of stone tools, okay? Stone tools. Neolithic revolution, stone tools corresponds with increased consumption of animal protein by hunting and gathering mind. Cultural behavior and their possible involvement with biological evolution of our species. The earliest use of stone tools corresponds with increased consumption of animal protein. More animal protein in turn changes what? The hominic diet, the best diet, than potentially in its anatomy, very important. You see, when man gets enough protein, he becomes strong. The activity to get this protein is, you need what? Hunting animals. Hunting is human culture now. So culture in biology, yes, the use of clothing itself, a cultural artifact, allows human bodies to survive in environmental, they will not normally survive, example, Arctic temperature. ልብስ ባይኖራውም እስኪሞ እንዴት ሊኖር ይችላል? There is adaptation mechanism. The people of Eskimo, they are fur. ከቆዳ የተሰራ ፈር ይለብሳሉ. Yes. People in Africa, people in Europe, we are living in different climatic conditions. በተለያየ environment ዞን የምንኖር ሰዎች የተለያየ ካልቸር አለን። ያለባበስ ስርዓት አለን። ያለባበስ ስርዓት፣ ያመጋገብ ስርዓት፣ የምንበላው ምግብ ራሱ ይወሰናል. So all these things should be taken into account. The use of clothing ያልኳቸዋል። አለባበሳችን፣ አመጋገባችን, eating habit, the dietary nature, the clothing style. People in desert, people in cold areas, people in temperate areas, people in equatorial areas. What kind of culture there is? Based on the temperature, based on the climatic condition mainly. That's why the use of clothing itself, cultural artifact. Cultural artifact. Biology and culture, they are highly interrelated. Humanity stands for the human species, a group of life forms with the following characteristics. አሁን የሁማን ጸባይ ምንድን ነው? Human being from other being. You see, one, bipedalism. Bipedal, bi means two. Bi ስንል ሁለት ነው. Walking on two legs, በሁለት እግሩ ቆሞ መሄድ, the nature of what? Man. Relatively small teeth for primates of our size. Relatively large brains for brains of our size. Brain. Using modern language to communicate ideas. Modern language. Language including symbols, by the way. Either verbal or non-verbal symbols. Gesture. አሁን አያቸዋለሁ እጃቸውን አንዳንዶቹ gesture እንቅስቃሴ one of what? Yes, transmitting information, I think, using complex sets of ideas called culture to survive. This is the nature of humanity. So humanity stands for the human species, yes, having group of life forms with the following characteristics. These 5 characteristics: bipedal, walking on 2 legs, relatively small teeth, yes, እንዳንበሳ ወይም እንደነበር እንደሚሟጠጥ ክራንቻ የለም ለሰው. Relatively large brain, using complex sets of ideas, standing on 2 legs and having particularly small teeth and large brains are all anatomical characteristics, by the way. Anatomical characteristics. And they are studied by anthropologists focusing on human biological evolution, surviving by using a wide array of cultural information, including what? Including instructions for making pottery or farming tools in Ethiopia is the use of culture. This is the point. The next point, origins of the modern human species. Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is coming from Greek word. Homo, genus, sapiens, species name. Homo means man, sapiens means wise man. So Homo sapiens means wise man. Wise man. When compared from other animals, yes, are the only being that we consider, remember from the past, arrange the present, and we will plan the future. This is the idea.
በትምህርት ከፍ ብሎ መብረር ይቻላል። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ከከፍተኛ ትምህርት አግባብነትና ጥራት ኤጀንሲ ሙሉ ዕውቅናን ባገኘንባቸው በማስተርስ ዲግሪ ኤምቢኤ በስትራቴጂክ ማኔጅመንት፣ ኤምቢኤ በባንኪንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ ኤምቢኤ በቢዝነስ ሊደርሺፕ፣ ኤምቢኤ በሪስክና ኢንሹራንስ፣ ኤምኤስሲ በኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድ እና ኢኮኖሚክስ ዘርፎች በእውቀት ለመቅረጽ የበቁ ፕሮፌሰሮቻችን አረንጓዴ መብራታቸውን አብርተዋል። በነገራችን ላይ በኬንያ ሀገር ከሚገኙ ስመጥር ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች በሚመጡ ፕሮፌሰሮች የትኩረት መስክ ትምህርቶቹ መሰጠታቸው ልዩ ያደርገናል። በምርጥ የትምህርት ስርዓት የተገነባው ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ በመጀመሪያ ዲግሪ በአቪዬሽን ማኔጅመንት፣ በሆቴል ማኔጅመንት፣ በአካውንቲንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ በማርኬቲንግ ማኔጅመንት አስተማማኝ ትምህርት ይገቢውና ራስዎንና ሀገሮን ይለውጡ። አድራሻ 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
So what does different world religions and cosmologists say about the origin of human being? Cosmologists, ትዕይንተ ዓለም ለማለት ነው። Universe. What about scientific paleoanthropological explanation? What's paleo? Paleo meaning old ማለት ነው. Old anthropological explanation from the previous time ማለት ነው. Paleo, old. Okay? So cosmologists versus evolutionary and paleoanthropological explanation. One of the major questions anthropologists raise with the origin of humankind, the fossil record preserves evidence of past life on Earth, tracing a progression of simple one-celled organisms to increasingly diverse forms. How did these different forms of life emerge and new species arise? Theories concerning the evolution of life date back to the ancient Greek, but it was only during the 9th century that the first comprehensive theories of evolution were developed. This is the point. The next point, cosmologists and human origin. ትዕይንተ ዓለም ዩኒቨርስ እንዴት ነው የሚያለው? Cosmologists and human origin. Cosmologists are conceptual framework that present the universe or the cosmos an ordinary system. They often include answers to these basic questions about human origins. Where did we come from? Where are we from? Okay? The basic questions. Why are we here? What is our place in the universe? And the place of humankind in the universe, usually considered the most sacred of all cosmological conceptions. Cosmologists or the universe account for the ways in which supernatural being or God himself or forces formed human being and the planet we live on. These beliefs are transmitted from generation to generation through ritual, education, laws, art, and language. You see, the beliefs are transmitted from generation to generation because cosmologists account for the ways in which supernatural being or God forces formed human being and the planet we live on. This is based on this Christianity point of view or from the Genesis, we call it ስነ ፍጥረት የምንለው Western tradition of origins. እስኪ ትራዲሽን ምዕራባውያን ትራዲሽን ምን ነበረ? የሰው ልጆች አመጣጥ In Western cultural tradition, ancient Greek had various mythological explanations. አፈ ታሪክ mythology for human origin. One early view was the Prometheus fashioned humans out of water and earth. Another had Zeus ordering Pyrea, the inventor of fire, to throw stones behind his back, which in turn became men and women. This is mythology, by the way, Afataric. To throw stone ድንጋይ ሲወረውሩ ወደ ኋላቸው yes behind their back which in turn become what ሰው men and women ሴትና ወንድ this is mythology አፈ ታሪክ ምን ያህል ጥያቄ እንደነበረ ነው በድሮ ዘመን ሰው አመጣጥ with a master of science and technology አሁን ብዙ ጥናት አለ inventor of fire plays a major role for the development of civilization የዛሬ 800 ሺህ ዓመት እሳት ሲፈጠር የእሳት መፈጠር ትልቅ ሚና it plays yes a significant role a significant step one way yes to the top fire plays a significant step on the way to the top ነው ምንለው ሁሌ የሰውን ታሪክ የቀየረው ማን ነው ከተባለ እሳት ነው እሳት ጥሬ ነገርን ለረጅም ሰዓት በጥርሱ ሲያደቅ የነበረን ሰው የድሮ ሰው ማለት ነው ማብሰል ሲጀምር አጭር ጊዜ መጠቀም ጀመረ በአጭር ጊዜ ማድቀቅ so fire plays a major role change it is biology and the chemistry of food even biology ስለምን ነው ከጀርም ነፃ የሆነ ምግብ አብስሎ መመገብ መልመድ that's why fire plays a major role it plays a significant step on the way to the top significant step እሳት ማለት whatever the case ባዮሎጂውን ኬሚስትሪውን የቀየረው ምንድነው እሳት ነው እሳት ከተፈጠረ በኋላ የዛሬ 800 ሺህ ዓመት ማለት እሳት ሰው አብስሎ መብላት ጀመረ yes biologically free from germs ጀርሞችን ኪል ማድረግ ጀመረ ማለት ማብሰል ጀመረ ሌላው ደግሞ በአጭር ጊዜ ነው ፉድ ኬሚስትሪ ምንለው ቶሎ ረጅም ሰዓት ጥሬ ምግብ መመገብ እንዴት ነው ጥሬ ባቄላ ጥሬ የሆነ ነገር አብስሎ ሲመገብ አጭር ጊዜ በአጭር ጊዜ ተመግቦ መንቀሳቀስ so later Greek is considered biological evolution the Greek philosopher tells of Miles 546 BC argued that life originated in the sea and that humans initially were fish-like fish-like eventually moving on dry land and evolving into mammals. The biblical book Genesis, Sina Fitrat, Judaic tradition describes how God created the cosmos within how many days? Based on one grand theory as actually from the beginning, creationist theory. Later, as Christianity spread throughout Europe, this tradition became the dominant cosmological explanation of human origin. Example, according to Bishop Asher's estimate, the Earth was approximately as 6,000 years old. From the biblical point of view, Bishop. Scientifically, narrated this in the science. 4.6 billion years. 4.6 million years. Evolutionary and paleoanthropological perspectives on human origin, as opposed to cosmological explanation that we discussed above today. Now, methodological አይተናል, biblical point of view አይተናል, scientifically, anthropologically ምንድን ነው የምናየው ያለው? Anthropologically ወይም scientifically explanation ምን ይመስላል የሚለውን እንወስድ። Evolution ምንድን ነው? It's a process by which gradual change in species over time. We call it evolution. In fact, evolution is used to describe the cumulative effect of three independent factors. What are these independent factors? The first one is replication. The second one is variation. And the third one is selection. Replication, yes, the fact that life forms are offspring, መዋለድ መባዛት replicate ማድረግ variation, the fact that each offspring is slightly different from its parent. Of course, an offspring, babies, comes by using 23 gene from his father and 23 gene from his mother and total 46 chromosomes ይዞ ይመጣል። Whatever the case, there is variation to some extent. Selection. This fact, not all offspring survive. ሁሉ survive አደረገ. And those that tend to be once best suited to their environment. The fact, not all offspring survive. You see? Those who can adapt the environment, they can survive. ስለዚህ ሶስት ነገሮች አሉ። ኢቮሉሽን ስንል ሶስቱን ነገር ማወቅ መቻል አለብን። የመጀመሪያው ሪፕሊኬሽን ያለው መባዛት፣ መራባት። ሁለተኛው ቫሪዬሽን ነው። ቫሪዬሽን አንደኛው ከጂን ጋር የተያያዘ ሊሆን ይችላል። ሌላው ደግሞ ከኤንቫይሮንመንት ሚኒንግ ፌኖታይፒክ ቫሪዬሽን፣ ጂኖታይፒክ ቫሪዬሽን። ፌኖታይፕ ከለር፣ ስኪን ፌኖታይፕ ነው ባዮሎጂካሊ ማለት ነው። ጂኖታይፕ ከጂን ጋር የተያያዘ ነው ኦፍ ኮርስ። ሴሌክሽን yes the fittest can survive. What Darwin says, the fittest usually can survive everywhere ማለት የሚችል ይቆያል፣ ይቀጥላል፣ ዘሩን ያስቀጥላል። ካልቻለ ሂል ፐሪሽ፣ ያልቻለ ደግሞ ቦታ ይለቃል ማለት ቦታ ይለቃል። This is the idea. So just you have to identify these three very important points in relation to evolution. Then Charles Darwin, I think you are familiar about Charles Darwin. So the Charles Darwin የምትሉት ነገር እስኪ ንገሩ። Charles Darwin 1809 to 1882, a British naturalist, is one of the scientists who provided the scientific explanation of human origin and the concept of evolution. ቅድም ያየናቸው ሜቶሎጂ ወይም የአፈ ታሪኮች፣ የግሪክ አፈ ታሪክ ድንጋይ ሲወረወር ሰውና ወንድ ይሆናል ይመጣል። ይሄ አፈ ታሪኩ አሁን ቻርልስ ዳርዊን starting from 1809 to 1882 he discussed or explained about the origin of man, which is called the theory of natural selection in the evolution of species, and the idea of survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest. አሁን ሁለት ግሩፕ አለ ማለት ነው። the fittest አለ፣ the unfit group ደግሞ አለ። there is usual competition everywhere. We are living in the world of competition by the way. ምናልባት እንደው ካሰብ ነው ማለት ነው። we are living in the world of competition በየትኛውም ኤሪያ ላይ ማለት ነው። being competent is mandatory. ኮምፒት ማድረግ መቻል፣ ተሽሎ መገኘት፣ ወደኋላ ለመቅረት፣ ከብዙሃኑ ጋር እኩል መምጣት ማለት ነው። እንዲያው አትሊስት ወደኋላ ለመቅረት that is the fittest. The fittest, there is the fittest group, there are also the unfit group. The fittest usually survive according to Charles Darwin. He is correct. The unfit left behind. ወደኋላ ይቀራል ማለት ወደኋላ። That's why survival of the fittest usually. The fittest can survive. የሚችል ይቀጥላል፣ ዘሩን ያስቀጥላል። የማይችል ወደኋላ ይቀራል፣ ይሞታል፣ ፐሪሽ ያደርጋል። Today, anthropologists have countless amount of data, much of it based on studies of DNA, deoxynucleic acid, hormone, or gene, the molecules that shape all Earth's life, to back the claim Darwin made in 1859. In doing so, anthropologists study humanity as biological phenomenon by raising questions such as what species are we most and least like? ከየትኛው ነው እኛ የምንመስለው? የትኛውን ስፒሺስ እንመስላለን? ከየትኛው ኢቮልቭ ሆነ? We are coming from our ancestors' distant origin, the distant origin or the distant ancestors, apes and monkeys, the chimpanzee, particularly chimpanzee. chimpanzee ጋር በጣም ተመላልሰን አንድ አይነት እንዳለን ነግራችኋለሁ። ዘ ፈርስት ክላስ አሁን ዲኤንኤ ሲታይ ቺምፓንዚ እና የሰው አንድ አይነት ነው ብያችሁ ነበር ባለፈው። ኦልሞስት ማለት ነው 98.5% of DNA makeup is exactly similar like man. The only difference with chimpanzee 1.5 ነው ብያችሁ ነበር የመጀመሪያ ክላስ ያስታውሳል። as you might recall last time 1.5 ልዩነታችን የዲኤንኤ ሜካፕ ሰውና ቺምፓንዚ። but chimpanzee is still locked in zoo and educational laboratories. But man rules the world. because of his dynamic nature, because of his brain, mind. His brain مكير. What species are we most and least like? Where and when did we first appear? What were our ancestors like? What were our ancestors like? Distant origins hunters gatherers fate. Hunters gatherers. Communal way of life Yes. Can we learn about human behavior from the behavior of our nearest relatives? The chimpanzee, you see, and gorillas. Is our species still evolving? How do modern human genetics, population growth, and other current issues play from a biological perspective is point. The kinds of humanity, yes, human physical variation. Reflect your view on the following question. Why is everyone the same? Why is not everyone the same? ለምን ይመስላችኋል? ለምን አንድ አይነት አልሆንም? አሁን people all over the world, nearly 8-9 billion people. ልዩነት አለ. People in Africa, people in Europe, people in Scandinavian countries. Some are black color, some are white, some are yellowish, some are dark color. ምንድን ነው ልዩነቱ? እስኪ ንገሩኝ። ዳሪክ I saw you from the screen. Do you have something to say? I think you have plenty to say. Biniam?
Yes.
Why not everyone the same? Because of the
I
geography.
think the weather.
Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I think the weather condition is not the same from place to place. So the color will be different, I think.
Exactly. Because the geography, mind you. The geography we are living. You see, we are living in Africa, in Europe, Southeastern Asian countries. Some people are stocky. Yes. Some people are very tall. The thing is, geography matters. Geography is the place where we are living, the environment where we are living, the natural condition we are living. Why do people worldwide have differences in their phenotypic attributes? What Biniam says, of course. Biniam phenotype ማለት phenotypic variation, skin color ማለት ነው. Not genotypic. Phenotypic ስንል skin color ማለት ከላይ በኢንቫይሮንመንት የሚቀየር ኢንቫይሮንመንት ፋክተር የሚያደርገው ነው ማለት ስኪን ከለር፣ የፀጉር ማጠር፣ መርዘም all these are related with the environment we are living. People come in many colors and shapes. And people of the Mediterranean, for example, are obviously darker skin than those Scandinavian countries. What are these Scandinavian? Bethlehem? I saw you from the screen. Bethlehem or Gabriel, I think. You have something to say? Okay. Darik? What are those Scandinavian countries? Scandinavian?
I think they are Norway, Sweden,
Yes.
Finland. Most of the country, their area or their geography area is covered with ice. Almost there is no, they get 2 months or 3 months of sunlight. Because of this, their skin is very light.
Yes. Excellent. Norway, Denmark, Finland, Ireland, Sweden. Usually Scandinavian countries, there are 5 Scandinavian countries. Economically, but the geographic environment is what she said is very cold, but they are highly developed, particularly Denmark. Yes. Even just milk is just like water. They transfer just like a pipeline. Wuhan by pipeline. Sorry, ወተትን በፓይፕላይን just like water. ፓይፕላይን ውሃ ነው የምናውቀው አይደል? ያም ችግር ነው አንዳንደኛ ጋር ውሃ በቧንቧ that's Scandinavian countries in way and natives of Arctic are shorter and stockier. Stockier meaning short and strong ማለት ነው. Stockier than the tall. Then Samburu of East Africa. Now the Arctic and East African people compare and contrast now. The Arctic people, they are coldest area, but people are living there shorter and stockier. They are very short because they are living in coldest area. But in East Africa people somehow tall. Why is this? How did this variation come about? And what do they mean for humanity as a species? The answer comes from the study of human biology by physical anthropologists anyway. Whatever the case, racial type anthropological perspectives in natural skills. Like all living things with sensory input, humans have to classify their perceptions into some kind of order. This order, things go with this, others but don't belong in the group. Some people have darker skin, as I showed you, but some they are darker category, of course, because they do have darker skins, they do have darker category. And the other one, obviously not all human beings look the same. Humans have spent some time putting people of different colors. You see? Body shape, yes, in different colors, body shape, and so in different categories, sometimes called races. Unfortunately, this tendency has had some very bad consequences for millions of human beings over centuries. Biologically speaking, a race is a group of organisms of the same species that share similar physical and genetic attributes and specific geographic regions. In short, there are subdivisions of a single species, yes, meaning they can mate and have offspring that are healthy through this offspring, and within some characteristics reflect their geographical origin. We call it race. The next point is adaptation. What do adaptation do? Adaptation. Everybody adapts to a given condition. You see, adaptation. Adaptation can be understood as a process, behavioral or biological, that increase the likelihood of survival for organism. Likelihood of survival for organism. Unless you develop adaptation, you will not survive. Yes. Summer season, winter season. Do you wear the same clothes in summer and winter? Not at all. So just you develop some adaptation. Adaptation for survival of organisms. Living in Eskimo, for example. The Eskimo people in northern part of the world, when the area is covered by ice, they build their houses from igloo, snow cover. There is a special adaptation by wearing what? Fur. This is adaptation. So an adaptation can be mutation that confers an advantage. For example, a frog that has better camouflaged skin than its siblings has a lower chance of being snapped by a fish. Camouflage. አመሳሰል ራስ አመሳስሎ መኖር በተቀመጠችበት ቦታ የምታመሳስል ማናት? አንድ እንስሳ አለች። የተቀመጠችበትን የሄደችበትን ትመስላለች።
Assist.
ሊዲያ
Assist.
ያ assist አሁን ስድብ ይመስላል አይደል? ብዙ ጊዜ we do have bad connotation, but these animals they do have highly camouflaged with their environment, so they do have lower chance of being snapped by their enemies. ከጠላቶች ለማምለጥ መመሳሰል መቻል and therefore a stronger chance to survive and have offspring that will carry the gene for better adapted camouflage. Similarly, skin color, one of the most visible human characteristics, is a good example of adaptation to a particular environment. Skin color. Africa, what kind of color do we have? Europe, Southeastern Asian countries, the kind of color what we have. Darker skin, yes, adaptation to the geographical condition of Africa. Or color, ይሄ በጣም ሙቀታማ የሆነው አካባቢ ለመመሳሰል ለመኖር አዳፕቴሽን ሜካኒዝም ነው። ዳርከር ስኪን ላይተር ስኪን an adaptation to the geographical condition of Europe. Biological adaptation are not instantaneous ወዲያውኑ አይደለም biological cultural adaptation ነው አብዛኛው ጊዜ instantaneous biological adaptation is not instantaneous ማለት ወዲያውኑ ቶሎ አይደለም cultural adaptation is every now and then የሰው with a master of science and technology በየትኛውም አጋጣሚ ማርስም ሳይቀር መኖር እየጀመረ ጨረቃን because they have different cultures ሊያስጉዞ የሚያስችለው culture አለው ማለት another example of biological adaptation in human being is the difference of stature. What is stature? Stature. Stature, ቁመት ማለት ነው። ቁመና between Arctic such as Inuit and East Africa such as Maasai people and the Inuit in Arctic. Example of biological adaptation. The shorter, the longer. You see, in biology, Bergman's rule indicates that the colder regions, warm-blooded animals will have stockier bodies. Stockier means stronger, okay, than their counterparts from warmer regions, because stockier bodies are more efficient at retaining body heat. The rapid physiological change or psychological change that occur in one's lifetime, like mountaineers' adjustment of lower oxygen levels at high altitude, are referred to as habituation or acclimatization. Yeah, when you go up, oxygen ምንድን ነው የሚሆነው? ቀንሳል ይጨምራል። የወዲት ወደ ላይ በሄድን ቁጥር በተራራ የኦክሲጅን መጠን becomes thick or thin. Yes? Oxygen. That's why mountaineers, they carry oxygen bag because they could not get enough oxygen. That's why. When you go up, the oxygen becomes thinner and thinner. This is one culture. Adjustment to lower oxygen levels at high altitude. These are not passed genetically to the next generation because changes acquired during life can't be encoded in the genes. This is the area. What anthropologists can say for sure about human race? Human race. Anthropologists ምንድን ነው ስለ ሬስ ወይም ዝርያ ምን ይላሉ? Human race. So do human race exist? Very strictly speaking, Homo sapiens does features geographical based differences within the species. However, you must consider two very important points. First, these genetic differences don't mean a lot biologically, because all healthy humans can mate and have healthy offspring. We are all in Homo sapiens, biologically speaking. It's also inaccurate to say the African race or the European race. It's very difficult to say when speaking of deep differences in these people. የአፍሪካ ዘር፣ የዩሮፒያን ዘር፣ የአውሮፓ ዘር ይህ አባባል which is very difficult. A look at the genes show no significant species level differences. Only very minor visible ones such as skin color, shape or nose or hair. Talk today about ancestors. More general term that recognize the reality of some geographical species, human actions, but doesn't turn them into loaded black and white races. Second, most important is that cultural behavior is not genetically linked to those geographical differences. Cultural behavior is not genetically linked. Culture and genetics, culture and biology, culture and nature. So what anthropologists can say for sure about human races is the point. Very strictly speaking, Homo sapiens does features geographically based on difference. I asked some questions. And I can say culture and biology, culture and nature, culture and gene. Culture and biology. Do you think culture is linked with genetically? Culture, genetically linked? Gene and culture? Gene, yes, it is more biology, but culture is natural. No, culture is not natural. Culture is not genetical. Culture is not biological, but culture is learned. Culture. A newly born baby comes to this world with animalistic nature. Animal, newly at this level it's anat. Minim bare hand. Yes. John Locke says a newly born babies, they are white sheet of paper. ነጭ ወረቀት ናቸው። ከተወለዱ በኋላ እርን የሚያደርጉት ነው፣ የሚሰበስቡት ነው፣ የሚማሩበት ነው። That's why culture is learned እንላለን። Culture is not related with gene. Culture is not related with biology. Culture is not related with nature. But culture is learned. Culture is shared. Like any human can acquire any language, an infant can acquire any culture. True? Any human can acquire any language. Any human. You learn more. English is medium of communication. Amharic is our mother tongue, our first language, Amharic, of course, for Ethiopians. Human can acquire any language. መማር ቋንቋን ጥሩ ነው። የትኛውም ቋንቋ ከተቻለ ማለት ነው። Any infant can acquire any culture. It is culture that really diverse behavior, not the genes. It is culture, diverse behavior. አስተዳደጉ ያደገበት ቦታ የት ነው? ህፃኑ ያደገበት ቦታ የተወለደበት ሳይሆን ያደገበት፣ ተወልዶ ያደገበት። ኢትዮጵያ ተወልዶ አሜሪካ ያደገ ህፃን የትኛውም ካልቸር ይዞ የሚመጣው ያደገበት ነው። Because culture is learned. Comparative approach. Okay? Or cultural relativism. What does it mean? Zalalam.
አሁን ይሰማል። ይሰማል። መቀጠል ትችላለህ።
እሺ ማሮዳስ what my comparative approach now? Comparative or cultural relativism ስንል ምንድነው የሚሰማችሁ ወይም የገባችሁ እስኪ ንገሩ። ሊዲያ
I think it's about when we compare one culture from another, not for the purpose of superiority or inferiority, but for the purpose of the difference between those cultures and the mutual or the common thing that both cultures have.
Yes. It should be compared to understand only how and why they differ and how they share commonality to each other. We compare culture not for the sake of saying one culture is better than the other, as I told you. So, evolution like this is something about evolution. I think we have plenty to say. ምን ተስኖት or Rhodas?
I think
Yes, go ahead.
it's comparing the past races of this human races, comparing with the recent human race. I think it's about that.
Yes. How our distant origin looks like, our distant
Yes.
origin. Okay, our ancestors. Where are we coming from? እስኪ ከሰዎች ጋር ቀረብ ያለ በዲኤንኤ ቀረብ ያለው ሰው ከሰው ጋር ማን ነው ነበር ያልኳችሁ? ዲኤንኤ ሜካፕ ላይ ዝንጀሮ። ኦኬ፣ ግን በጣም የቀረበው 98.5% ሲሚላር ዲኤንኤ ከሰው ጋር ያለው ነው chimpanzees. Yes, the name is correct. Chimpanzee and man share 98.5% of DNA makeup እያችሁ ነበር። ነገር ግን chimpanzee locked in the zoo and used for educational laboratory, but man rules the world. ይሄ ነው ሰውን በዚህ ደረጃ ላይ እንደገና ደግሞ ቺምፓንዚን እዚህ ያው ጫካ ውስጥ ያስቀመጠው የስንት ፐርሰንት ልዩነታችን ነው ያልኳችሁ? 1.5 ነው። So why anthropology is called a mirror of humanity? Faisal, I saw from the screen.
Yes. What was the question?
Question: anthropology a mirror of humanity. የሰው መስታወት ነው ብለን እንገልጸዋለን።
I think it's concerned about the human development and how did human beings evolve on these times, how they develop the cultural or the physical structures and so on.
Yes. Yeah, anthropology is called a mirror of humanity because it entirely studies human being. ሰውን ነው የሚያጠናው ማለት ነው። From this two dimensions የነገርኳቸው from what? These are spatial temporal dimension ብያችሁ ነበር። Spatial temporal. What does it mean? Rhodas, are you following up to that? Spatial temporal. Spatial means space. Anthropology focus all people in the world. No left for anthropology space-wise. Rural area, urban area. Primitive society, yes. More developed and complex society. Space. Temporal, meaning time. There is no time left for anthropology. Starting from early appearance of man to still today, just covered by anthropology. Spatial temporal dimension የሚለው ይህንን ለማለት ነው። The next point is human and the race, of course, biocultural ብያችሁ ነበር ደግሞ human biology affects human culture and human culture affects human biology. Can you verify this?
Can I answer?
Yes, why not?
አሁን ለምሳሌ ፖላር ላይ ያሉ ሰዎች እና ሰብሳሃራን አካባቢ ያሉት ሰዎች የሄርት አቀማመጣቸውም የተለያየ ነው። ምክንያቱም ፖላር ላይ ያሉት ሰዎች culture affect biology እንዴት culture affect ያደርጋል?
አሁን ይሰማል?
Okay.
Yes.
ጥያቄው biology
human
እንዴት
culture
culture
affects human
affect ያደርጋል?
and human biology affects human culture.
Okay, አይሰማም?
ይሰማኛል።
እኮ አይ አሁን ባዮሎጂው አፌክት የሚያደርገው በየቦታቸው እንዳልኩ ነው አቀማመጣቸው የክላይሜት ቼንጁ አፌክት ሊያደርገው ይችላል። ካልቸር ደግሞ ያው በየቦታው ምንትን የምንለው የተለያየ ነው ካልቸሩ እንደየሀገሩ እንደየካልቸር ማለት ነው።
እስኪ እንደገና ተቆራርጦ ነበር ትንሽ ሶሪ እስኪ እንደገና
አሁን አይሰማም?
Okay. The change in human brain, biacultural. Change in human brain has brought cultural changes. Interruption now. Human biology affects human culture, biacultural. Human culture affects human biology. ሁለቱም ተያያዦች ናቸው። አንዱ ባንዱ ላይ ማለት The change in human brain has brought cultural changes like intelligence, language, and even writing. Because of this, anthropologists use the term biocultural to state dual nature of human evolution and culture. So, what is the response manifested worldwide to escape from COVID-19? All the activities are called cultural, by the way, not biological. The response manifested in order to escape this coronavirus or COVID-19 by its scientific name. What are those activities manifested worldwide? ምንድን ነው እስኪ የሚደረገው? እስኪ እያንዳንዳችን የምንጠቀምበት ምንድን ነው አሁን ያለው? To escape from this pandemic disease. Derek, before we disperse, just try something. Okay, Biniam. I say
yes, sure.
Yeah,
sure. Okay. We are trying to avoid any contamination with other, and we are keeping our distance from others. So we are protecting COVID from COVID by this way. That's the way.
You see, all these are responses which is given worldwide. በዓለም በሙሉ ያለ ነው። So is cultural or biological?
Yes. This cultural.
Cultural. This is cultural information. This is the nature of man. Animals cannot, by the way. Yes. Black people in the world, they stood together. Europe in the world, European, American, Black Americans. Cultural information in the world. አንድ ሳይታቸዋል ምን ናቸው እነዚህ? አንድ ጉንዳኖች በህብረት ማረም ያሉት they are just moving in commune but their communication is somehow what? They are rigid. The only difference between man, but man, the communication is flexible. Black people in Africa, Black Americans might flexible. So this is all for today, and next time we'll continue about 3.4 human races. If you have question, comment or suggestion, please welcome.
ልዩነት መፍጠር ዓላማችን ነው። ዓለም አቀፍ ተወዳዳሪ መሆን አለባችሁ። የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ጥራትና ደረጃውን የጠበቀ ስልጠና በመስጠት ብቁ ዜጋ እያፈራን ነው። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን፣ በበረራ መስተንግዶ፣ በቲኬቲንግና ሪዘርቬሽን፣ በሆቴልና ቱሪዝም ሙያዎች አሰልጥነን ተወዳዳሪ እናደርጎታለን። ኮሌጃችን ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ICM ጋር በመተባበር ዓለም አቀፍ ዕውቅና ያለው ስልጠና እየሰጠ ይገኛል። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን፣ በበረራ መስተንግዶ የምንሰጣቸው ስልጠና ከኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል አቪዬሽን ባለስልጣን ሙሉ ዕውቅና አለው። አድራሻ ከጎላጉል ታወር 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።